Hey class, um, this is going to be a presentation about line. Now again, I'm not going to go through all of the slides, just a few to give you an idea, to give you a sense of this chapter or this milestone, which will be focusing on the element of line, which is an element of design. So let's take a look at this picture, right? I like this drawing as one of the slides to start off with because, I mean, look at all the line variety. One of the things that I am just a stickler on is line variety. That light lines, dark lines, thick lines, thin lines. So we have to keep that in mind, that it's the quality of your line that really engages a viewer's attention, which is what you want. You want a person's attention, the attention of your target audience, or yeah. So what can we see here? It looks at first kind of abstract, or well, it is an abstraction, but it does look like it's really non-representational. But if you start really looking at it, you're going to start seeing some recognizable imagery. So what I see is like a woman sitting down in her studio. We have a cat that's even right down here. Let me get my cursor. We have a cat right over here. We have a woman sitting down. We have some chairs. We have some drawings. We have some brushes. We have a window that is open over here. So all these things kind of allude to the idea of like an artist studio. So maybe this woman is an artist in her studio with her cozy cat. But at the same time, you can ignore the imagery and just look at the beautiful line quality. There's even lines that are very opaque and lines that are very transparent. There's lines that are very fluid, and then there's lines that are very dry brushed. So all these things add to the quality, the variety of any work of art, even if it is the other fields, graphic design, interior design. For interior designers, for instance, it's the quality of the material, the touch. Same thing for fashion designers. So this is like the spices in a food. You don't want to put too much spices, but you want to put a nice blend of spices and aroma to any dish. So with a drawing or in other forms of art, it is line quality. All right. So what exactly is line? There's three parts to it. A line, we have a point, which has no dimension, and then a line, which is a point set into motion. And then what else do lines do? They describe shapes. And what do shapes do? They describe images of things that are recognizable at times. But everything starts with a point set in motion. So when we look at a drawing, for instance, or even your handwriting with a pen, taking a note, that is a documentation of a moment in time. That's what it is. It's a moment in time because that dot is moving and that time will never occur again. So drawings and paintings and a lot of works of art are really just a documentation of a moment through time. Here we have Picasso with a flashlight, kind of drawing a minotaur, right? So what can line do? Lines can do a lot, right? They can create movement, they can create emotions, and at times there are some descriptions here that I may not agree with. I don't think lines, for me, if you said, okay, what is an artful line? I'm kind of like, I don't know. That's a little too ambiguous for me. But, I can picture a nervous line. I can picture a graceful or dancing line. I can even imagine what a happy line is like. And I'm sure many of you can too. So, looking at these drawings here on the right, in here, it's kind of easy, right? We can tell which one, if I said choose two lines that seem the most like anxiety, or two lines that feel like, overly confident, or happy-go-lucky. And you can kind of point them out. And these are just lines. That's all they are. But look at how much we can derive from them psychologically. And this is the power of line in your design. Right here we have a little girl and we have an older man, right? And I'm going to say he's the old guy, is maybe like a curmudgeon, maybe the grandfather. And then the little girl, his granddaughter. And you can see with just the way the lines are drawn, you can kind of fill in the space. Like she might be saying, why do birds fly? And Billy, he picks his nose, and my cat likes to meow, and blah, blah, blah. And you can imagine that the guy with the line coming out of his mouth is kind of like, because, blah, 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 condensation and blah, blah, blah. That's me. That's the way I interpret this drawing. But that's just with line. That's just with line. No words. You could probably almost do a comic strip just like that, with no words, but just lines. Okay. Line and shape. Defining shape and form. So remember that sometimes they use form for dimensional shape, but don't confuse form with how. Where, remember what we talked about last week, where it was about content and form, the what and how. Here they're using the word form to describe a shape. So it can be confusing, but just try to keep that in mind. So line describes shape, and shape describes objects. Pretty simple, right? Pretty simple. As soon as a line closes in on itself, it becomes a shape. So even though this is a little pixelated and it is digitized, but just look at the line quality. Look up here how it's very dark right over in here, but then over here it's very light and very light. This adds interest. This engages us, the viewer. It grabs our attention. Whereas if we did something like this, we got it. It's like, okay, I got it. It's a quick read. There's no fluctuation in the line. It's just about giving us information. We grab the information and we're done with the information. Whereas this is more than just information. This is also like entertaining for us, sensual for us. We get to go through it, through the line, writing the line. So, cross-contour lines, what do? They provide a map of the surface of our projects or of our drawings. They instead of describing the outside, it's describing the surface. And a lot of times contour lines, like right here on the right side, you're going to see this aspen tree, or let's just take a look at this fabric in space, or in the air by the beach, and you can see that this fabric that has all these lines are helping us see the surface of this bed sheet flowing through the wind. And this is a close-up cropped image of aspen trees. And aspen trees, they have these little dash lines that wrap around the tree, and we can feel the roundness of the tree column. So there are three types of line, okay? And we're going to go through all three of them. There's an actual line, which is not showing. It's up here, where it's actually a line that you draw. We have the implied line right here. And we have the psychic line, which is right here. The psychic line is that space in between these 2 points. There's the actual line. So an actual line is exactly what it says. It's actually a line. It's an actual line, right? And there's an actual line right there. The implied line is just the organization of marks. And if these marks are organized in such a way, our brain just says, that's a line. We got it, it's a line. Even though at the end of the day, looking at this, like if we look at the dots, it's not really a line. It's just a bunch of dots. A bunch of dots that are compressed and organized to give us the sensation of a line. Here we have some stones in the field, and these stones, we get the impression that there's some jaggedy lines here in this garden. But the reality is, it's just a bunch of stones on the ground touching each other. That's all it is. That's the reality of it. That's maybe how a robot brain would see it. And the same thing here. The psychic line, at first it may be difficult to understand, but later when I show you an example, you'll understand. But the psychic line, for instance, let me see here. Sorry about this, guys. Let me see. Oh, okay. The psychic line, let me go back to here. So think about this. If somebody points to the sky and says, hey, look, Superman, you automatically will look at that finger and then look up towards the sky. And that line is the psychic line. In photography or painting, the eyes, where the eyes look, that's the psychic line. Where the hands point, that's the psychic line. So there are three types of line. Let's just review. We have the actual line, where you actually create a line uninterrupted. We have the implied line. In other words, an organization of marks or tables or chairs or cars or people that in your mind you construct and you fill in the blank to make that line. And then we have the psychic line. And this line is, it could be like pointing at something, or where your eyes are looking, or arrows or directions. These all create psychic lines. So it's not a line that is actually there, but a line that is there cognitively, like that you can, mentally you see it there. Okay, so let's look at this painting closely. And again, sometimes some of these works of art that we see in the museums, they're there for a reason. And this painting by Georges de la Tour, the fortune teller, it is so well orchestrated or choreographed. That's a better word. Think of you as the viewer, and you're a dancer, and the artist is choreographing the dance of where your eyes go, how they dance around on the picture plane. So let's take a look here. So what are we looking at? In the beginning, all you see is probably a young man, right? And there's some women surrounding him. And he looks kind of upset. And basically, let's just imagine he's telling the old lady on the right, the elderly woman on the right, I'd like my money back. I don't really believe the fortune that you're telling me, because she's like the fortune teller, right? Like a tarot, like having your cards read or your palm read. So as you're looking at him and her, and you're just looking at the faces, what you're not noticing is what's going on right down over in here, right down below. Okay? And so let me go back one step. What's happening down here below? He's getting robbed. There's some, getting pickpocketed right over here. She, right over here, is cutting his watch off, and she's just a distractor. And who knows what she's doing in the back. So this is really amazing, because when you're looking at this painting, you yourself are being robbed. If you stay looking up here too long, then you're getting robbed. Now let's talk about how eye movement is happening here. First off, with the eyes, right here, these eyes, this is psychic line. This is the psychic line. You don't see the line there, but it's inferred by the stares. Okay. Next, right here, let's look at this line right here. This is an implied line, because we have her arm, his shirt, the stripe. These are connecting elements that create a line, but it's implied. Okay? And then, even though it's not illustrated here, we do have actual lines. This would be an actual line coming down right in here. It's not drawn out. So basically, let's take a look at this. So you might come up here, you might look at her, look at him, you might come down the shoulder, come around here, go to his fingers, down the side, back up again. Maybe you want to, go up her arm, back down these stripes, back over here where the coin is being given, back up on the top. You might even come over here. Let's suppose you take a look at her. How does she keep you from wandering off the page? Well, she's looking downward. Look at her nose. It points down. In fact, her nose and the shirt right in here, this is the implied line. Everything here is on purpose. Nothing in here is a happy accident. Going back to our definition of design, which means intent, to plan, to organize. This is well planned and well organized. Line directions. We have three basic directions of line. We have horizontal lines, vertical lines, and diagonal lines. And they all have psychological implications to us as human beings. So horizontal, a body at rest; vertical, strength and stability; diagonals, motion, action, and even risk. Horizontals, let's think about that. How do we sleep? Horizontally, unless you're a vampire. When we look out in the ocean and we see that horizontal line, it gives us a sense of rest. Right? Horizontals are also very solid, very sturdy. Like no one is ever going to tip a brick that's lying down horizontally. You just don't. It's stable. It's solid. Diagonals, on the other hand, are exciting, but they come with risk. So if you're going to a club to go out dancing, you definitely want to see some diagonals. And you will see them there. Maybe you haven't taken notice, but you want diagonals. It's exciting. You're at the club. But if you're at a doctor's office, or you're at the bank, or at the lawyer's office, let's suppose you're at the bank and you're talking about investment in your money, and behind the loan officer are paintings with diagonals such as this. It's going to make you feel like, wow, can I really trust this person with my money? Not sure. It's psychological. And let me see. Let me go back. Nope, I guess we don't have any vertical lines. And then, or vertical lines, let's just talk about vertical lines, right? Vertical lines, lines that are up and down, those give a sense of strength, stability. Think about columns. Think about the columns that you see in a bank or Greek temples. Think about phrases like grow up straight and strong. What do you mean grow up straight and strong? You mean like a tree? Like trees grow up straight, vertically? So verticals are a sense of stability and strength. Stand attention. Stand up and fight. What are all of those things? They imply verticalness. All right, let's talk about. So let's look at this painting. Let me see. Do we have this painting up close? No, we don't. So let's take a look at it here. It's a fight, right? This is a boxing match. And I want you to take a look at all the diagonals and horizontals and verticals. Let's start with the diagonals of the bodies. Look at this diagonal. A diagonal. The referee, diagonal. This guy up here, diagonal. All these diagonals imply action, motion. Now we have some horizontals, which would be the ring around the fight, right? The ropes. Horizontals, stability. A place to rest, where boxers rest when they're in the fight. And then, of course, we have some verticals like this beam right here. So, again, this painting didn't just happen. It wasn't just an expression of the moment. It's planned. It's designed. Then we have contours and gestural lines. Contour lines tend to describe the shape, the outer shape, or the outer edge, and gestures tend to describe the motion, the feeling, the spirit. So when we look at it's a French word, so it's Ingres' painting or drawing here. He has very clean lines. Very clean lines. And his paintings are also very linear, very clean contour lines. And then here we have gestural lines. It's very gestural. And what we want to do, especially for the fine arts, is we are striving to combine all these lines. This is a nice sculptural artist, Butterfield. She uses iron and wood to create these sculptures of horses. But you look at them and they just look like drawings. They just look very free flow. It's quite amazing. So let's get to the last topic here that I want to talk to you guys about, which is line quality. So line quality, it's super important. I talk about it all the time in class. It's thick to thin, light to dark, heavy, smooth, all these things. So when we look at Judith Piaf, look at this drawing, or this it's just, there's transparent, there's opaque, there's very thin, there's very loose, there's, very strong and confident lines, and very dancey and ghost lines, but there's a variety. And we are attracted to variation. We are attracted to variety. Nobody wants to eat mac and cheese every day or pizza every day. I know some of you say, yes, you can, but seriously, you want some variety in your diet, in your food, in life. So it's the same thing with design, variety. Okay, so again, I'm not going to go through all of the slides, but I think with this, we're good to conclude. And yes, when you look towards the end, you're going to see some things like cross-hatching, things that we're going to talk about with our texture project right in here. But anyways, all right, everybody. So with that, I want you to go ahead and finish off the PowerPoint, finish off the reading the text, and remember that you can do this alongside with any of the work that I give you, like the quizzes. All right, everybody, have a good day. Ciao.